beat the crap out of me. I don't need it.
So last weekend was annual conference in Des Moines for the Iowa United Methodist. So Holy Conferencing was a means of grace for John Wesley, which means it was a holy conversation that was a result of being led by the Holy Spirit. And Bishop Sally Dick says that holy conferencing means that in our speech and in our actions and our relationships, we're looking for a more excellent way in how we treat each other. So as you probably know, at annual conference, all of the pastors in Iowa joined together along with a lay representative from each charge. So Morley and Mechanicsville are a charge, and so you have one representative going, and Kathy was your representative this time. So she's going to come and give us her thoughts and observations, and I don't know what she's going to say about annual conference.
She's a little nervous, I know. So, have any of you been to Iowa conference? Annual conference?
I haven't been to annual conference.
No, he counts for everything. I went last year just because I wanted to see what went on. It was very interesting. I hadn't realized, or didn't have any clues since I'd never been there, that last year they were selecting delegates. They were voting on representatives, delegates to go to the national conference in Seattle this year. So I'm sitting there and they're voting on all these people, and I'm like, if I were actually here and could vote, if I could actually vote, how would I have any clue as to who to vote for these? So I was a little leery this year, thinking, you know, it's kind of like an election. You don't really know anything about the person that's out there, only what you see and hear, which currently is not anything I'm excited about. But it was very different. They had several different, in fact, I had to take a few notes just so I knew. There were 44 action items that they were going to vote on. And it actually started, I'll back up a bit. There was a laity session Friday night, and while the laity was meeting, the pastors were also meeting in another room. And I really enjoyed my session because there were some, there was an a cappella group from one of the colleges, Rust College a cappella choir, and they were very good. It would be awesome to see them here. They were just really nice young people, and they came out through the audience and shook hands and said hi to people as they were singing sometimes, so it was really good. And then Saturday they started in with the legislation, and like I said, there were 44 action items, and I was thinking, we're going to have to talk and discuss each one of these. And this year, I'm not sure whether this is how they typically do it, but they put them into blocks. So there were different areas, like conference ministries, pension and health benefits, general church apportionments, and procedures and proposals and recommendations. And they put them into blocks in each one of those areas. So they'd say, we're going to block together action items 201 to 204. Are there any of those that you want to remove to discuss independently or separately? And then they would, if somebody wanted to, they could ask that one of them be set aside so that for discussion, and otherwise they would just say, ask if you were in favor of it or opposed to it. I actually got, it's a cute little thing about this big, like a TV remote, and you got to push the button, and sometimes it actually worked, which was always kind of surprising to me. But, and then if there was an item that had been removed for discussion, a couple of times they did remove them, and it was mostly about clarification for what those action items were saying. And I'm not gonna list all the action items and so forth. The one that I kind of stuck to or thought about was one where they talked about the insurance for the clergy, and that the district or the district conference had absorbed the last rate increase, and we know that insurance has been going up incredibly. So they had absorbed the last one. They were predicting that they may have to push that out to the congregations this next 2017. So that's something that we may be faced with having to help support. But we all want Pastor Barb to be healthy. There were also some presentations, not just the legislation. What was unusual about the legislation, as I say, I was kind of concerned because I thought it'd go on forever. It was scheduled for all 3 days. And they actually concluded all of the legislation on the very first day. So I'm thinking, oh, well, this is going to be a shortened visit. We're not going to have to stay the whole time. They're going to blah, blah. No, they somehow found things to fill the time through till Monday. And so we were there the whole time listening, and there were some presentations also. One of the ones that I thought was really, well, one of them was from the Women of the Well organization. And this is a United Methodist congregation that's actually located within the walls of the Iowa Correctional Institute for Women in Mitchellville, Iowa. This congregation is comprised not only of those women that are incarcerated there, but also people from around the state that choose to go there and share that ministry with these women. And also there are many volunteers who regularly support those ministries and programs. They have a Facebook page and website, I believe it is, where you can go and find out what's going on. I started receiving emails talking about how S, they call them by just a letter, is needing some extra help. Please pray for her as she continues to struggle. And SX may be going up for parole. Please pray for her that she may be blessed with lesson time. It's very interesting. And apparently they said that there was a lot of interest in starting one in Anamosa. So that might be an exciting new ministry in the area that some people might want to get involved with. It sounds really inspiring to me, because these ladies come in and have done some horrible things, as we all know, but we've all done some things that weren't necessarily a good thing, and they just need a little support in getting through and coming to terms with what they've done and how they can proceed and how God loves them even if they have sins. So I think that's kind of an exceptional experience. Another presentation was by the Poverty to Opportunity Task Force. It was created last year to help identify ways in which the church can lead and facilitate anti-poverty measures. And one of the ideas that they came up with was change a child's life. They've quoted that in 2012, roughly 1 in 4 Iowa 4th graders scored below the proficiency level on the state reading test. 1 out of 4. Research indicates that a quarter of the kids who are behind in reading by 4th grade, if they're behind by 4th grade, they'll eventually drop out of school, making them more likely to experience other hardships, including jail time. So it's one of those things where you have to help them read before 4th grade to see the most success. The academic and economic futures of almost 90,000 young Iowans are at risk, And the Iowa Conference hopes to help thousands of those children through a reading initiative called Change a Child's Story. Excuse me, I said it wrong before. This is Change a Child's Story. The goal of Iowa United Methodist over the next 2 years is to give 1 million books to these youngsters and read 1 million hours to kids. The new initiative provides the opportunity for us to create new partnerships in the community and new relationships with struggling kids. You'll be hearing more as we go forward, and maybe you've already talked about it in this congregation. I see you nodding your head, so I figured you would be a good component of that. There were several times, so that's another opportunity where we can help at a state level. There were several times that tensions rose somewhat, or you could just feel kind of an uneasiness in the air. During the national conference in Seattle, it was brought up the idea of how United Methodists worked with, how United Methodist policy is stated for gay and lesbian people in terms of marriages. And as you can, I mean, I can feel just a little bit of tension here even when it's brought up. So you can imagine how these 800 plus people at the international conference in Seattle, how that probably affected them. There was a lot of back and it was decided that they were going to turn the issue over to the Council of Bishops for more discussion. But still at our annual conference, there were people that were standing up with concerns because there's people on both sides. And at the international conference, you have people who are there from everywhere around the world, including African Methodists, where it's against the law if you are engaging in a love for someone of your same sex. So tensions ran high, and it was brought up several times by people in our state of Iowa about what they think should have been happening, and they had to be reminded that this was an issue for the international council, not for our local council, so to speak. And if you did not know, I keep learning things, so
That's good.
well, I just find it interesting. The General Conference consists of approximately 864 delegates, and this is the one that was in Seattle this last May. They are elected from around the world, and it's the policy-making body of the United Methodist Church, and convenes once every 4 years. This conference can revise church law, the Book of Discipline, which you may or may not have heard referred to, which is our Methodist set of rules as to what we should and shouldn't, can and can't do as an organization. Is that a fair? They can adopt resolutions on current moral, social, public policy, and economic issues. It also approves plans and budgets for church-wide programs. So they're the ones that say everybody in the world who is a Methodist can or can't do these things. So if you hear in meetings or something, I know Barb refers to, well, we'll need to check the Book of Discipline to see what it says about that. Or I know in the Book of Discipline this is what it says. So that's probably where the idea comes at the state conference. You have to have a clergy and a lay person from each charge. So those are the kinds of things that they legislate. It was a very interesting time. I'm really glad that I went. If you ever have the opportunity to go, I think you'd find it interesting. You might not want to go for the whole 3 or 4 days, but it is very interesting. And I'll stop talking now.
It's always good to see, to experience annual conference through fresh eyes, because I've been going since 1989,